qualified for the World Cup. Go and compete.
It's most podcasts, to be fair.
Because during the week I was like, oh, I really want to talk about this or this or this, and I fucking didn't write any of it down. But I think it's kind of better just to let things happen naturally anyway.
Yeah, I think so too. I have a few bits like stored away, just like that came to me over the week. But yeah, the world is ours. We can do whatever we want.
Yeah, let's talk about how Ireland lost to fucking Luxembourg.
I mean, if there's any football to talk about, maybe we should touch on that. Maybe we just shouldn't.
God almighty.
Probably
I've
was.
kind of blocked it out.
Like,
Yeah.
is this the lowest of the low?
It was such a ghastly display of football. It really was. And I felt like for the first half, people were like, oh, they're playing some good stuff. I was like, have you not seen them give the ball away every single time they put two passes together? It's like two, three passes, and then the ball is kicked out of play. Or a player doesn't go on the overlap or something. It was horrendously bad.
It was like they were playing with the wrong controller layout on FIFA or something.
Yeah, it's pretty poor. I thought even like the lineup was a bit.
I never heard of them.
suspect.
Who the fuck are half these people?
Yeah. And like for the first few minutes I was like, this lad Knight is a bit of a player. He looks like he could be good. And then just went on to play absolutely shit for the next 85 minutes. So, horrendous. It probably is the worst I've seen Ireland play. Because even, I know we were kind of debating, was the Cyprus 5-2 worse, but at least you could celebrate 2 goals. Like, there was nothing good last night. Nothing. Maybe we shouldn't talk about it.
No, it's pretty depressing. But like it felt okay. I know the Serbia game wasn't brilliant, but it was like, scoring 2 goals. That was good. That was progress because couldn't hit a barn door before. The lineup kind of worked. Serbia away is never an easy game. So you thought, you know what? No,
Serbia, he's talking
Serbia.
about.
Like
you're on about the one last week. Sorry. I thought you were just saying the wrong team. Yeah.
I thought you were just a fucking idiot, yeah.
I mean, that is debatable still, but yeah, like the first game of the one last week was okay. It felt like things were sort of coming into place, and then I don't know, that was horrible. Yeah. Like Luxembourg looked like a very good team, which shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, and like you're talking about the team selection, it's very much like what I do on FIFA, where I want to play all my young players to give them minutes and stuff, and then when I'm losing 2-1, I bring on my Shane Long and my James McLean just to try and salvage a point. It's like, you can't do that in real football. It doesn't work. It clearly doesn't work.
Luxembourg are probably the biggest micro-state, if that's any consolation to us.
I asked
the tallest dwarfs.
Because I was curious about Georgia. I was thinking of Georgia and how Georgia always give us a tough game. So I was kind of wondering, do they have similar populations? Does anyone know the population of Luxembourg?
It's like 500,000 or something, is it?
Yeah,
pretty small.
Yeah, it's like 600 and odd thousand. Like Georgia is like 4 million or something.
Yeah, I only know that because someone was saying that Iceland have half the population of Luxembourg, so it's not as bad as when England lost to Iceland in a tournament.
Right. Yeah, that was terrible. Yeah, because I asked someone who I shan't name to guess the population of Luxembourg, because I was like, I don't know, is it 1 million or is it like 100,000? I had no concept because it's so tiny, and they guessed 46 million. I think they were just thinking of a totally different country.
Are these the same people who were telling you they didn't know any of that common knowledge we'd be talking about in the podcast?
No.
Okay.
I said they were thick.
No, it wasn't those people, no. Most people have a fairly good guess, but one person did guess 46 million.
They couldn't have been serious.
Wow.
They were, but I think they they heard just a random place and were like, oh, I don't know, millions, 46 million. And then when I was like, you know where Luxembourg is? And they were like, oh yeah, that place. Never mind.
They haven't a clue.
Hadn't a clue.
Hadn't a clue. Isn't like the players as well? I don't even think they live. They might not have even been born in Luxembourg. Isn't Luxembourg just like a big old like tax haven for like IT companies and banking companies now?
Yeah, and I do know they have a large Portuguese population for no reason. I don't like they have a large immigrant Portuguese population.
So does
So,
Gort.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So there's the west of Ireland.
Yeah, there's like one town in the west of Ireland. It might not be Portuguese. I think it's Brazilians actually.
It is,
And it's
yeah.
like most of the population of the town is Brazilian people, just randomly. No idea why.
I know why.
Oh.
There's a meat factory, and they get hired for the meat factory, and that's where they live, and they work around the factory.
I was thinking that it might be because there must be a place in Brazil called Gort as well, and the pilots like they type in the route, and they just end up landing in Gort.
I was listening to a stream the other night, and I put in a comment. It was on Twitch, and I put in a comment because it was around Patrick's Day, and I was like, "Happy St. Patrick's Day from Cork, Ireland." And one of the people was like, "I've been to Cork, Ireland. Yeah, that's got a jazz fest and everything." And one of the guys was like, "Is that where Cork comes from? Like
Yeah.
for wine bottles?" That comes
be
from
fair-
trees, you fucking idiot.
To be fair, it's not the most stupid thing I've ever heard.
It's just, I don't know.
Luxembourg having a population of 46 is the stupidest thing I've ever.
Yeah.
They'd be cozy enough.
Oh, I'm just going to change subject very swiftly before I forget, because one of the things I wanted to talk about was, and we could cut this, but this is genuinely, I'm just curious about cereals, right? So a couple things here. Number one, do you guys eat cereal? Really?
Yeah, kind of. I
Yeah.
eat granola.
Okay. Yeah, see, I don't really eat cereal that much. I would have as a kid, but I never had milk in it. Is that really weird?
That's a bit
Yes.
weird to me, yeah.
A bit weird, but it's not super weird. Okay.
I don't know. Like it's like having tea without water.
No, it's not. It's like having tea without milk. It's just no milk. Because I used to hate cereal getting soggy. The other thing, do you rate Rice Krispies as a cereal?
Not really. I'd have to put sugar in them.
They're just shit ricicles, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're bland. It's like saying, do you prefer cornflakes or Frosties?
This is exactly. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes. Of
Yeah,
course
but
you
people,
love
not-
Frosties.
people like bland things, especially for breakfast. So what do you have for breakfast if you don't have cereal?
I actually really don't have a breakfast. I kind of eat at like 12, which I guess is more of a lunch.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
So I just eat twice a day.
Do you know the origins of cornflakes and like cereals?
fucking
Like the reason
fella,
why-
Kellogg's, Mr. Kellogg, whatever his name was. He was a doctor, I think, and he came up with cereals as a way of transporting food to people working on like the frontier in America, I think, or having like a storable breakfast or something or dinner for them. Was it?
Yeah, basically. And there's like kind of like tangents to it too, where a lot of is it Presbyterian that were the really like strict Protestants that first went to America?
Puritans.
Yes, that's it. They a lot of the kind of heads of the, I guess, the estates of groups of people, they saw it as a way of having a bland breakfast. Stopped people from the temptation of masturbating.
Yeah, I have heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably true, right? You have a really stale bowl of
Yeah.
cornflakes. It's probably the last thing you want to do is go and whack one off.
The fucking Puritans were nuts. Like these people had to leave Europe, medieval Europe, or fucking whatever it was, 1600s Europe, because they were too hardcore and religious. That's fucking saying something, that they couldn't stick
Yeah.
around in Europe, and they all got onto a boat and sailed off to the New World where they set up this country, America. People don't even realize that America was founded by religious lunatics.
Yeah, and people are shocked that America's the way it is. It's always been that
It's
way.
always
This
been
is
that way. Yeah.
this isn't new. They're
Mhm.
literally born into this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that was
Yeah.
even before slavery really kicked off fully.
yeah.
Like,
They go from strength to strength, really,
they
aren't they?
really
Like,
do.
what's next? But like, you know the way cornflakes would be to stop you whacking one out. What would be a breakfast that you'd really afterwards be like, yeah, all right, now's time.
What a load of Viagra in a bowl or something.
Pile of coke.
You
Well-
just start sprouting dicks out of you.
I had a lot of time
toes are
to I had a lot of time to think during the week about cereals, and I started to wonder what counts as a cereal these days, because it felt like when we were growing up, you had your Rice Krispies, all the plain shit, and then they started putting loads of sugar in it, so you'd like the Cocoa Pops, Frosties, all that kind of shit, and then they just went straight to just putting like hundreds of cookies in a box and saying that was cereal. Like, it,
That's
like
true.
look,
When what are they called? Cookie Crisp came along, I definitely thought they were ridiculous. Like, this is such a bollocks cereal idea. But
I thought they were pushing it with like Lucky Charms, like putting sweets in amongst the cereal, but then just going straight to actual just here's cookies for breakfast. How is that allowed to be called a cereal? That's kind of what I wonder. Throw a load of lollipops in a bag, and there you go. that's your cereal for the day.
yeah,
But there's I can't remember the YouTube channel, but he does these series where it's like the truth behind or the horrors of, and he does one of cereal, and it is quite it's quite morbid. It is exactly what you said there. It's how much sugar and how much addictive substances they can pack into a colored box that costs them nothing and sell it for like €5 because it's expensive now. Cereal is not cheap.
hmm
Yeah.
So yeah,
I can't say
Which
shit
is-
because I buy the crunchy nut granola all the time. So
Ooh, yeah, that's top tier.
it is though.
it's
really,
the
really
only
good.
cereal I can eat without feeling like a fucking child. Really.
Do you remember? I don't know. Are they still called this? But clusters. I think they're
Oh,
called
yeah.
like oats
Yes.
and more.
Yeah.
Ooh, they're serious
yes.
as well.
Yeah.
But they're probably like
But-
€9 pop or something at this stage. I haven't a clue.
A lot. But like you'd eat those without milk then, Hanley.
Oh yes.
I'd nearly
Oh,
do that too.
baby.
The clusters, yeah, I could eat those on.
Oh, and I'd pick out like the biggest clusters and save them for the end. I'd just have a bowl of the fucking flakes, which are probably also covered in sugar when you think about it. Ridiculous.
Yeah, because like that's the thing for me with those granolas. Like the best bit is the end of the bowl with the milk and everything
Yeah.
kind of.
Well, I do that with
Sucked
dinner.
up.
I tactically eat my dinner so that the last bite is the nicest.
Same.
Yeah, I used to think I was weird. Yeah, because I've done it since I was a kid. I'd eat my dinner in sections. I don't not so much now, but I used to eat like this first, then that, and it usually save like the meat or the bit with the sauce still last because that was
Mhm.
obviously the nicest part of the dinner. I'd back the peas, get them done.
Yes.
Get them out of the way.
Yeah. Which makes no sense really, because you could be full by the last bite and then you're not really enjoying
Yeah.
it. But we all do the same. Yeah. Like Christmas dinner, last bite is like the crispiest roast potato with the most amount of salt that's legal and gravy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my fucking sweet Jesus. Ooh,
Yeah.
my mouth is watering. And I've eaten dinner today. This is...
Yeah, potatoes are just really a vector for salt and butter to get into your stomach.
100%. A plain potato, don't even bother. But a potato with salt is just unbelievable.
Mhm.
Roast potato now, I mean.
I was saying this that those cooking shows where it's like MasterChef or whatever, and they spend all the time, the contestants, they make a dish and then they present it to the chefs, the judges, who take like a one bite and they say whether or not you win. You know those kind of shows?
Yeah.
I
Yep.
just think it's really flawed the way they do that, because one bite of something might be grand, but if you served someone that, and they eat the whole thing, and afterwards you could feel like shit if it's full of butter or salt or something. Like one bite doesn't mean anything as far as cooking goes. Anyone can make
No.
one bite taste good. A load of butter, a load of salt.
If anything, they should be having them eat, like 3 times the portion to see if it still holds up after
Exactly.
a trough and a half.
Yeah,
of,
I know.
And I also I know it's an art and everything, right? But I also don't like. I guess it's snobbery, but I don't like in those cooking shows, especially with Gordon Ramsay too. Like the presentation, like if food is cooked good, it doesn't matter what it really looks like. It tastes nice, but they're so anal about how it's presented on a plate with like these little squiggles and shit. I think that's stupid.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. One thing that I never understand, and I mean, we all know that these shows are made out to look like they happen as you see it, but we all know that there's a lot of production involved and time in between contestants being called up. The food must be fucking stone cold.
I know.
Like, they bring in a plate of ice cream and they're like, well, the ice cream's melted, as if it's the contestant's fault. It's like, that ice cream was made 4 hours ago. What do you
I know.
expect?
Well, they have to
Yeah.
manufacture drama in it,
Yeah.
no matter what.
I will say MasterChef Australia, I get hooked on that shit.
Is that the one with Marco Pierre White?
He was a guest in it a few
All right.
times. There's about 10 seasons of it, and they have like 70 episodes a season.
Yeah. I watch YouTube videos of him, recipes and stuff, but he's such a fucking parody of himself because he's got a sponsorship from Knorr stock cubes or something.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so everything he does involves Knorr stock cubes. And it's amazing how far he can push. How can he work stock cubes into every fucking recipe? And like seasoning meat with stock cubes and stuff, and risottos, making everything with stock cubes, making boiling tea, he'd put fucking stock cubes into it. Everything. And I've noticed this as well, is this is an observation I have, not just about chefs, but about anyone who is like famous or well regarded in any kind of field. If they make a mistake, if they're doing something that's clearly wrong, people won't recognize they're doing it wrong. They will make excuses for them in their own mind because they say, this guy knows what they're doing, so this must be the right way to do it. Like this chef, I watch Jacques Pepin. He's like a French chef, and he's really famous in America, not so much famous here, but he was on TV for like 50 years in America, and he was making an omelet, right? A basic omelet. And he puts it into the pan and he says, okay, now what you do is you get your fork while it's still wet, the omelet in the pan, and you start dragging the corners, drag it all into the center with the fork. And it's a non-stick pan, right? Anyone who has a non-stick pan knows the only thing you don't do is scratch it with metal. You don't fucking do that because you're going to ruin the pan and you're going to get loads of plastic or whatever chemicals into your food because it's going to scrape the coating, the non-stick coating off. It's the only rule for fucking non-stick pans. And he's there scratching the shit out of the non-stick pan, making an omelet. And everyone, there's like, I go into the comments and I'm like, he's scratching the non-stick pan. And everyone there is like, I think Jacques Pepin knows a little more about cooking than, some random person on the internet. I'm like, no, he doesn't. He's and they make up things. They make up excuses in their minds. You can clearly see he's using a Crazolt NASA designed pan. Those don't scratch. Those non-stick pans don't scratch. They make up bullshit in their own mind because they're like, this guy can't do any wrong. And I see it not just in chefs, but in all different kinds of professions. Anyone with any following, they have these sycophants who cannot accept that someone famous could get it wrong.
But YouTube comments in general are quite like that anyway. It's either someone trying to grab a laugh or someone trying to like call out the obvious, or like you said, leave comments like that to cheerlead whatever video it's on.
Yeah, they do that. That's what they want to do. They want to be like, oh, I'm the best worshipper of this person. I can understand how organized religions came about, actually. It all makes sense.
It's true. First it was Jesus, now it's Mr. Beast.
Yeah. I'm the best believer in this.
Jacques Pepin.
Yeah. I watch him. I like Jacques.
I do too, but this is the thing, when he's doing something obviously wrong,
It's true. Yeah, no, it's definitely true because like you know the way in like Hell's Kitchen and stuff, like Ramsay will flip his lid when they overcook something or they burn it. Like
Yeah.
don't tell me that even though he's obviously a chef held in like the highest regard and all these Michelin stars and stuff, don't tell me he's not like don't tell me he doesn't burn some things sometimes. Like he has to.
Mhm. I know.
Kitchens don't, fire does what it wants.
Yeah.
You're not like he's not some sorcerer of fire, is he?
I always
Uh,
thought this idea about kitchens, they have to be so high stress as if you're in a fucking operating room. Like the people like that who take it that seriously. I know I'm talking about Marco Pierre White and Gordon Ramsay, who I just said that I watched their recipes, and they're like the most famous ones for doing that, for like going ballistic in the kitchen, treating it like you just killed someone. But I just think that's just kind of pathetic to freak out
But
and to abuse someone over like a piece of meat.
As someone who's worked in like kitchen environments, right? There's one reason people do that. It's to justify their cocaine habits. It's the only reason. Seriously.
But which comes first? Is it the environment and then the cocaine, or does the cocaine create the environment?
It's like this, like this circle, this never-ending cyclical cycle where they'll get someone new in the kitchen, they'll make it as pressurized as possible for them, sell them cocaine. That's it on repeat.
Yeah.
Every kitchen I've worked in, there's been that.
The entire cooking industry is just a front for cocaine.
Everything you eat, everything that Jacques Pepin makes, is just laced in coke.
Yeah. It's like McDonald's. McDonald's aren't in the fast food industry. They're in the real estate industry. It's all about the properties they own. Like they own the land, they buy the land, and then they can lease it out to franchisees to run restaurants or whatever. But it's the land that's important to them, not the restaurant.
It was the same as I think it was Tesco Express or Tesco, when all of the pubs in the UK, like the traditional pubs, when they were getting like boarded up after like 2008 and all the crashes and all that stuff, the recession. It's all those old buildings, like really old style pubs, public houses, how they'd always be kind of like an unusual shape. They're all like Tesco Expresses and McDonald's now. They've snapped them up.
Yeah. And Weatherspoons, like you could walk into places and not realize it's just a chain. It's just a chain pub now because it looks like, oh, this place has a bit of character or whatever. That's the one thing that these corporate chains had going against them, was they all look the same, which people want as well. You want them to all be the same. Like if I go to Spain, I want to have a Big Mac, and I go to McDonald's because I know it's going to be the same. But that also works against them because people just see them as being the exact same generic places that are soulless and have, they prefer places with a bit of personality sometimes. And now they've even moved in on that, where they've managed to, corner the market on these quirky locations and places full of character and history. They're like, oh, we'll have that as well. That belongs to us now.
Damn you, Ronald.
Yeah.
Speaking of pubs, I'd be curious, just off the bat, out of 10, how much do you miss pubs? Honestly.
2 or 3, probably.
I don't miss pubs. I miss hanging out with friends, which I can do anywhere. It doesn't have to be a pub. Pub's just an easy place, and you can have alcohol there, which stimulates conversation and getting drunk, which is great, which is what I want to do when I meet friends anyway. Yeah. So I guess the pub is just the best place to do that. But as for the actual, like, I'm not dying to go to the pub. Like, I can live without it.
I'm the exact same. I think like a year ago, if you had told me you won't be in a pub for another year, I'd have been like, what? But it's not the pub I miss at all. It's like the nights that we do this recording, where we'd have people up and have a load of beers and still play, talking shit. The pub is just a vessel for it, really.
Yeah.
You can do it more fun and cheaper at home and not have to keep to go for a piss.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Pubs are on the way out.
Pubs are a scam.
They kind of are. Like, I'd be curious now. I don't think so, because I see a lot of people being like, oh, I can't wait to go back in and get hammered in such and such club or whatever. I see that a lot, but like, I'd be surprised to see how people react now if we are out of pubs for a longer time still. Yeah, we're talking like a year and a half before we were able to step back into like, old time bars and stuff. But people might actually prefer, not having to be exploited in terms of pricing, to not have that whole, someone invading your personal space all the time, as what a lot of pubs are and bars are. You can't really, there's no quiet corners. Some people might have just got fond of a cheap drink or a quiet drink with the people that they actually want to have the drink with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one thing that doesn't really apply to us, but which I think applies to a lot of people who go to pubs, would be the people who go to pubs to get away from their actual life, as in like the home life. These people who
Yeah.
are bar flies and go there every day after work, and they sit in the corner or whatever, and just
Desperate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bar I worked in, or a place I worked before, like, yeah, religiously. They'd even sign up for the gym and have a half an hour swim, literally to avoid going home after work,
mm-hmm.
And they'd be sculling pints then from like 4 till 12, and then, better go home now. Eesh,
Yeah, grim
a bad
existence,
place.
to be honest.
Really grim.
It's like we said last day, though. It's easier to stay in a life and a relationship that's comfortable and familiar, and you have your mortgage and you don't want to leave your wife. You just want to pay off your house, and the best way to deal with your shit life and probably your shit kids and the wife you don't love anymore is just to go to the pub and drink it away. And yeah, why not?
Dead right.
Well,
Because you don't want to go dating again.
yeah. I mean, yeah, and I guarantee it never starts out that way. It's just like, shit day, or fighting with the missus. I'll go have a couple pints, and then that one day becomes 2 days, and 2 days becomes a month, and next thing
I find it incredible to see couples, and you see it every single day. Couples that resent each other and are bitter, and you're like, they must have been like madly in love at some stage to end up where they are. And I wonder, was it just time, or was it a certain thing or certain things that changed that?
Yeah,
Always fascinates me.
If it's easy for you to fall in love with someone, why isn't it easy to just as quickly fall out of love with someone? People think that if you fall in love with someone, that it could never be broken. But realistically, I mean, that's a feeling that came over you all at once. You lived your whole life without it before it. You could live your whole life without it afterwards.
Yeah. I do feel like there must be a reason for someone to suddenly fall out of love with someone. Like if you feel this way about someone, I don't think it's like waking up someday and being like, actually, I don't like Flynn anymore. I think he's a bit of a dick. It's not just going to happen. It's not, no, because you'd have to do something, or I'd have to have some realization.
A moment of clarity where you realize my behavior, you just hate everything about it, but you had to put up with it because we were in school together.
Well, that's the other thing too. It's especially like relationships too. Is that it probably just
it probably just happens.
It is just what. Yeah, it's probably just one small thing.
The path of least resistance.
Yeah, and you're probably there, and it's just like it's one thing. Like, I don't know, choose loudly, and you put up with it when everything was fine, and then it's something else, and it's another little pet peeve. It's probably just a string of pet peeves, along with probably disliking yourself and the situation you're in, and then you just pin the blame on that, and then you just it all just builds up to one big crescendo of hate.
Yeah.
There was a conversation on the radio the other day. I forget exactly what the topic was, but the host asked, when did it become a bad thing to have sex with people, or to have sex with a lot of people, like to be promiscuous or whatever? When did that become unacceptable in society? Because animals just go around and do it all the time. So why did humans develop in a way where that was a bad thing? And they didn't answer. They went to an ad about fucking car insurance or something. But I was thinking about it myself. It's like, why did that become a bad thing for like women? I think it was specifically women. Why did it become a bad thing for women to have sex with lots of people? And I thought it was because inheritance. The way that back in ye olden times, usually it would go, when someone dies, their possessions would go to their son or their daughter or, their children. The biological bloodline was the most important thing. And then, but you would often have situations where people would show up and say, hey, that's my father. He had sex with my mother. I'm entitled to this. And that's really been a cause of a lot of problems throughout human history, where people are like, well, I'm entitled to this because my grandfather owned that. And then the other grandfather on the other side, they'd be like, no, I'm entitled to it because of that. I'm the one who deserves it. If you look at like the history of war in Europe and around the world, it's all about people saying, I deserve this because of my great 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 granddad, essentially. And so if people are sleeping with a lot of people, it's hard to prove whose son or daughter, and you get into these huge big mix-ups where everyone fights and kills each other. And so to keep it simple, they were just like, listen, you have sex with one person. You only have sex with one person, right? To save all the other hassle. And if you have sex with other people, that's bad for everyone. That's what I thought it probably came out of, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's the same as probably like the church, with priests and not marrying, because
that's exactly it. They used to be able to marry.
Yeah, and I mean, I know the Bible is an extremely old document that we really shouldn't take much from anyway, but like, it was never specifically said that people can't marry.
Yeah, they used to. It was only not that recently, but I'd say 1,000 years ago, which is like half the time the church has been around. Like the Pope was like, you can't get married now because we don't want bishops and whatever giving all this land and the church and the money away to their children. So once you die, you can't have any kids. If you do, you're not a priest, so it doesn't matter. We'll take it back anyway. So you can't have kids, because so when you die, all that stuff comes back to us, the church, and we'll decide what to do with it.
Thanks.
Inheritance is the root of everything. If you look into anything and go into it deep enough, it all comes back to inheritance.
There was this is kind of on like your initial point, Flynn. Is I can't remember, was it like a civil war, or was it a war that Paraguay had with a close neighbor? But following it, something crazy like 60+% of men in Paraguay had been killed because of this conflict. Mm-hmm. So the chief priest, I'm assuming it's a bishop or an archbishop. I think they're Catholic because it's South America.
Yeah.
But he approved people having multiple wives to get the population back up. Mm-hmm. So that's a strange exception that they made. It must have been a fun time to live in.
They can make exceptions for anything if survival is at stake. People will eat shit to survive.
Told you to stop bringing that up, Flynn.
I think it's amazing. I think it is kind of amazing the way humans can adapt to anything after a while. We're situation.
We're cells. We're like cells,
Yeah.
It's like looking at us under a microscope. They react to different scenarios and adapt and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're just a really big cell under a really big microscope.
I mean, look at us now, even in lockdown and pandemic. Like, if you said we're all going into lockdown for over a year more, and like now, I mean, life is not normal, but we're just getting on with it. We're just like, yeah, that's the way it is. So whatever. But it's like unthinkable if someone said, now you have to go into lockdown for a full year and you can't see your friends or whatever. You probably go ballistic for the first 5 minutes, and then you just be like, all right.
I wonder, will it be a huge shock to the system when we're out of lockdown? Because I even find now, and it's not actually a laziness thing, but like if I have to go out and do something, and I think a lot of it is like the anxiety of being out and there's this virus around, and is this person too close to me, or all that kind of shit in your head. I go out to the shop for maybe an hour, whatever. I come back, I'm spent. It's like I'm just mentally drained. It's like I need to sit down on the couch for an hour and recuperate. And I wonder, like, when I actually have to go out and work for hours, will I just be like, I can't do it. I don't have it in me anymore. Like, I just think it's going to be so strange.
I bet you probably will initially, but like we did the first time round, I'd say within a week you just adapt. It's amazing how quickly we can adapt to things. You know, we even just working from home, like 5 years ago, if someone had said to you, "Hey, you never see the people you work with. You'll only see like an image of them on a screen, and you'll have to do exactly what you did every day in this like little perfectly planned out office or this little perfectly planned out area." Can you imagine doing that
Yeah,
in your own bedroom?
I would have told them it's impossible, probably.
Yeah,
Funnily enough.
exactly. But it
Yeah.
obviously isn't.
In some
So
ways, I don't want to say it the wrong way, but I'm glad that something happened to make people realize how useless a lot of the infrastructure and setups and business structures were. That people figured out, hey, we can do pretty much everything here from a computer using the internet, almost for like a ton of jobs. There's no need to commute. There's
Yeah.
no need to work in offices. There's no need to do any of this shit with the internet. And people,
Yeah.
it would have taken people so long to come around to this idea if something like this hadn't happened, even though it's obvious and plainly obvious, but people just wouldn't have copped onto it. And I hope
Yeah.
it keeps going this way, where we don't have to work in offices and drive for an hour to go to work or whatever. And that it's like, if you have a computer, I can talk to you whenever I want. You can do most of your work on a computer. So why
yeah.
why bother?
Even waiting rooms and things. Remember, like, they just cram like 20, 30 people into a waiting room, and like whoever was first, it's their go.
Yeah.
And now it's like, no, your time is exactly 3:20 to 3:30. You're only allowed in at 3:20. You'll be called straight away. You're gonna go into the doctor or the dentist or whatever and do the job, and goodbye. That's it.
Mhm.
So
I
why
like-
was it never like that? No, I know it's because they can probably earn more money with a building full of people, but hopefully it doesn't ever go back.
But especially with that like appointment point you just made there. Yeah, the amount of times that if I had to go to the dentist or the doctors, the amount of people, like I'd be there and I'd be there like on time or just before, and say like you're usually waiting like 15 minutes generally. It's never on time. And there'd be people that would be in that waiting room before I got in. I'd go have my appointment and I'd leave and they'd still be in there. And you just wonder, are these people like killing time? And I suspect they probably were, because they were
But-
usually old people.
I feel like
You know?
those people are me usually. I'm always the one who's there fucking waiting, and someone who came in after me goes in before me. You're the lucky guy. You prick.
That's it, yeah. And do you not pay for VIP dental health?
No, I do not.
I do. It actually leads me into something that I was going to have as like a talking point if we wanted to.
Okay.
Was like games as kids for you. Like, what was like the game that sticks out to you as like a childhood classic? Because there's so many, and like I had this conversation with people last week, and like the variety of games is crazy.
Do you mean video games?
Yeah, like on the PS1 or
Yeah.
PC or whatever it was. Yeah.
Well, I
Um,
distinctly remember getting the PS1 on Christmas for my parents,
Same. Yeah.
and they got me Crash Bandicoot 3, and I later got Metal Gear Solid. And I'd say those were
Nice.
probably the two things that I played more than anything else on it.
Yeah, we never really got Crash Bandicoot or like Spyro or any of those kind of games. It was always
Sorry.
Tekken. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, Tekken as well, yeah.
Yeah, Tekken and Dead or Alive and Soul Calibur, like the fighting games, because they were like some of the only kind of two-player ones. And
Yeah.
we had like the Resident Evil and Metal Gear Solid, but I would have watched my brother play them more than actually playing them.
Yeah. I remember thinking Spyro was lame and that Crash Bandicoot was cool. I mean, in fairness, like the fucking standards I had as a child, they're both little cuddly animals. Like, why did I think one was lame and one was cool? Anyway,
Yeah, I think Spyro was like just a few years after Crash Bandicoot, so you were probably 9 instead of 6.
in Metal Gear Solid, I just remembered that there's a scene in Metal Gear Solid where Meryl, who's like the woman soldier in it, who your character is like in love with. No, not in love with. She's in love with you or whatever. And she gets mind controlled by Psycho Mantis, right? and Psycho Mantis like controls her body and like makes her shoot you or attack you in like one level, and in a cutscene he makes her reveal her deepest feelings for you, and she's there like, make love to me, right? And I asked my parents what that means. I had no idea. And it just makes me think of an ad as well where I saw an ad for condoms, and I asked my parents what condoms were in front of me. This was in public. This was last week. No. I was like 7 or something.
I know. I actually saw Kieran, you were tagged in something. Paulina tagged you in something about like your kid asking awkward questions in public, like why is that man so fat or something, you know?
Yeah. He's very vocal like that. I don't know if you know it, right? In the Wilton shopping centre, like if you're coming off like the footpaths, there's like little lanes, and they're only really just for one-way traffic, but like you get people going both ways, but you just have to kind of like, slide a little bit, let them past. Man, he obviously doesn't mean it, or it doesn't mean to offend or anything, but like as loud as he can, like this woman, and she was on the bigger side, and he just was like, why is she so big? It's like, can't answer that. And then you'll see someone that doesn't have hair, and like he'll just say, where's that man's hair? And it's like, oh man, it's it's awkward as hell when you're just walking past these people and they can clearly hear him, and you have to be like, because he doesn't know why people don't have hair, but
Yeah, he's at that age now where he's well able to speak, but he doesn't have any kind of filter or any kind of understanding of like what's acceptable in society.
Yeah, and like you go to him and you say, you can't say that to people, and he's like, why? And it's true. He's like, why? I don't know why. You just can't say that people are bald. They don't like it, I guess. What is the right answer? Why can't you say that man's bald? You have no hair. Wouldn't the world be easier if we could?
I don't think it would. How would that make the world any easier?
Why are you
fix a lot
bald?
of problems for me.
We'd figure it all out. Yeah.
Exactly. No stone left unturned.
But at the same time, look, there is a certain amount of like these people know they're bald. Like these people,
I'm sure they're well aware. Yeah.
Like it's not a fucking shock to the system or something. I mean, if
bursting crying,
it bothers them that much, wear a hat. Jeez.
Maybe they shouldn't have to wear a hat. Go out without people commenting on it. Just saying.
Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe you have a point, but I mean, 4-year-old boy can comment on whatever he wants, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and he will. He will.
Yeah.
Brace yourselves for when he meets you guys. I suppose. Yeah. All your deepest insecurities. He'll get them out.
Yeah, like imagine if he said something you weren't aware of. Like, what's that on Adrian's face? Be like, what?
Yeah.
Do I have something on my face? You'd be like, oh no, don't worry about it, lad. Be like, oh.
Or just announce as one of your deepest regrets or something. Like, how does he know?
What? Like, you can read minds?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that'd freak you out. All right. I'd probably just punt kick him or something through a window.
I mean, he's not a pushover. I'll say that. He'd give you a good fight.
Yeah.
Going back to games, for me, it was always the SmackDown games. I know that they weren't like the first games, but they were always the one. They were like, I think it was SmackDown 2 or maybe SmackDown 3. SmackDown 3, I think, was like Just Bring It or something. But those are the ones that were like, any free moment was playing that game.
Yeah. Yeah, they were amazing. I used to create my own wrestler and name him after me and just kick the shit out of everything. So fucking lame.
I'd do matches where I'd be the Big Show versus Lita or something and just throw her around. Hell in a Cell, Nathan Jones versus Tajiri or something.
Oh yeah.
Nathan Jones, was he the Australian guy?
Yeah, the Terror of Boggo Road.
That's a throwback. That is some throwback.
He was there was a period where they started just recruiting the biggest, ballest, like angriest fellas they could. Like even more than usual. Like I know wrestlers anyway are big, angry fellas. But these fellas in particular, like Matt Morgan, I think was another one. Lesnar, like Lesnar captained the team at Survivor Series, which was all just the biggest roid monkeys you've ever seen in your life. And I thought they were so cool at the time. I was like, look how fucking big they are. I was like, that's what Vince McMahon thinks. That's what he says in his office.
Yeah.
Look how big they are. Look at that beef.
And then everyone's shocked when they fucking die of like cardiac
They
arrest
just
at
drop dead.
46. Like,
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. That was a learning as a teenager, wasn't it? Just how like nearly every week on SmackDown or Raw, it's like, and now we
Memorial.
remember.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's like fucking hell, how quickly they're dying, and it's like it was like 1970 to 2002.
They just have the one Creed song that they had the rights to. They play for every memorial.
yes.
It's terrible. Literally, like
you were with me.
Free.
Yeah, I have a student now who's mad into wrestling. Like he loves it. Because I like the WWE on Facebook, I still see what's going on. And sure, it's embarrassingly bad most of the time. But
yeah,
it's great to be able to be like, oh, I saw the Fiend came back there and beat Randy Orton, did he? And your man will just go off, like fucking chatting away for 5 minutes about the Fiend and his theories about it and stuff. Just like
nerd.
Yeah,
you know it's fake, right?
we're just talking shit about him online then.
Yeah, Jesus. Poor fella. Poor fella. I hear AEW is doing pretty good though. It's like trying to replicate the Attitude Era. So apparently it is. I don't know if any of you watched it.
Which OAW? I
Yeah.
haven't really. No.
I've seen stuff about it. I don't really know anything other than it's just everything the WWE was like 20 years ago. So it's got the blood and the violence and the cursing.
And a lot of the ex-wrestlers too.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I had like a book when I was a kid and it was like WWE unscripted, so it was like interviews with the wrestlers. And I vividly remember a quote from Chris Jericho saying, I hope it was something like, I hope I'm not. I said I vividly remember. No, I can't remember. But anyway, it was something about like I really hope I'm not wrestling when I'm 40. I don't want to be wrestling when I'm 40. He was probably in his late 20s when he was saying this. Your man is pushing 50 now and he's still wrestling. And you know, it's just it's kind of sad that his music career clearly didn't take off, and he just has to wrestle.
Like the rest of us.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, he's a multi-millionaire. I shouldn't feel too bad. He's also a total dick, I think. But anyway,
most of them are. Like, whenever you hear all these like inside stories or ex-wrestlers coming out, it's always how much of a like dick most of the people were.
Just total bullies. They're just jocks. They're just the biggest jock from every corner of America put in one fucking place. But there's like, isn't there a video of Chris Jericho like punching a woman?
Yeah.
Like on the street.
Probably.
I'm kind of not telling that very well, but he does basically slap a woman in the face.
Yeah.
Dickhead.
They're not good people. They're not good people. Like he put, like he said, like these beefcakes on steroids into a pressurized environment with a massive ego boost every evening. And then they're like chronically overworked and underpaid. And it's like a recipe for, you know, drugs, sex, and fighting, really.
It's amazing how the rarest skill in an industry that's built around it is being able to talk in front of public. Like, that's the rarest thing to find in wrestling, is someone who can speak well in front of a big crowd. Like The Rock, obviously. A few others. But you could name them count them on one hand. And that's what the whole industry is built around, rather than wrestling. It's about guys who can talk well or become popular with their personality alone. Like, forget the whole fucking wrestling. Like, that's the least important part of wrestling. And it's amazing that this is the rarest skill in the world to have, is being able to get people to pay attention to you while you're talking out loud.
Yeah. One thing I never got, and I do respect professional wrestling, and I understand that people say it's fake, and there's a huge argument around that because obviously what they're doing hurts them and all these kind of things, right? That's totally fine. What I don't get, and I see it written all the time when I read like a wrestling interview, is telling a story. Like, we really told a great story in that match, or that particular wrestler is really able to tell a story. That's the point where I'm like, I don't know what fucking story you're telling me by doing a suplex off the top rope. Like, I don't get that. Like, you're either athletic, you're either athletic and you have a good gimmick and you're good on the microphone and that makes you a good wrestler, or you're not good at one of or all of those things.
I don't know. I've seen stories told just through wrestling.
Okay, well, I'm very glad because I'd like to understand that. Because it's definitely me being naive or ignorant or whatever. But
well, like Stone Cold versus Bret Hart at whatever WrestleMania something 13, where Stone Cold was the villain, the heel, going into that match, and Bret Hart was face, the hero. And by the end of the match, they had switched roles. Like, Bret was now getting booed, and Austin was getting cheered. Because of what they did during the match wrestling. Like, Bret started kind of breaking the rules a little, getting a bit petulant, and Austin didn't tap out in the submission hold, the sharpshooter at the end, and he passed out in his own blood. He didn't tap, and that made him popular with the crowd because they were like, this guy's an asshole, but he's also super badass. And they were like, they started cheering him after that. Like, they were more on his side. And Bret, who was being a jerk in the match, they started booing him because they thought this guy is just, an asshole now.
Fair. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I guess I totally understand that they made.
That's a rare example. Like, that's an example most people would point to because it's not like the highest. It's a really hard thing to do like a double turn where like the villain and the hero switch roles. Like, you don't see that in movies really, or you rarely see it for like them to switch roles. It's really hard to do it.
Okay. Yeah, I just never really understood what they meant by telling a story. Like, I totally understand that, like switching the roles, but a lot of the time it is just very clearly good guy goes in, bad guy goes in, one or the other wins. It's like, what's the story? Was it just that the bad guy, did some bad things like a bad guy does? That's just the bit that gets away from me sometimes, but maybe I'm overthinking it.
Or underthinking
it. We need to give this more time. Let's take a 10-minute break and come back to this. Moving like the subject completely in a completely different direction. Did you guys see the Suez Canal block thing?
Well, yeah.
With the ship. Yeah. How ridiculous.
It is amusing how they just can't get it out. Imagine. Well, you don't drive, Kieran, but Adrian, have you ever broken down or anything in a car, or been like stalled the car, taking off at lights?
Yes, yeah.
Like, that's happened to me a few times where like the car conks out as I'm going through the lights because I'm a fucking idiot, and just the pressure of having like 3 cars behind me for like a second give me nightmares.
Yeah, imagine having 20 ships behind you
and everyone in the world looking at you.
Yeah.
But what I saw was that it kind of veered to the left and then turned to compensate and got wedged. Is that? Are we agreed that's what happened? Yeah. I'm surprised. I'm surprised it's possible, but I'm even more surprised that because it's possible, it hasn't happened before.
I bet what
Yeah.
happened was originally it was wide enough that the biggest ship at the time wouldn't have been able to do this. But over the years, because this never happened, they just started making longer ships and they were like, yeah, it's fine. It's never
Pushing
happened.
their
It's
luck.
never been a problem in 50 years or whatever. More.
It's true.
100
Like
years.
they apparently they widened this back in 2016, right? To account for ships getting bigger, but apparently they can't keep up because companies like this, what's it called, the Ever Given, but it's Evergreen, isn't it? The
I
company,
know.
I think.
What is this about? Like,
Yeah, just make it hard for everyone. But they keep making bigger ships because there's less regulation against them being able to just pile as much shit as they can onto one cargo or one ship. That you can't widen a canal fast enough for these fuckers to just keep
mhm.
pumping cargo.
Yeah.
it
Suez
it
Canal
made
is amazing. The whole thing, though.
yeah, but what makes me laugh is that governments and economic systems are always telling the common people, find an alternative. Pull yourself up. You've had a setback. It's all right. Find an alternative. Try again. Yet one ship gets stuck and they're fucked. The whole economy is fucked. Why don't they
Mhm.
find a solution? Go find a solution, lads.
This is
No,
like a flat tire for us, yeah. Like showing up late because you had a flat tire or something
Yeah,
and getting fired.
it's bollocks.
Just one other thing I want to talk about that I wanted to ask about, because I became very aware of it this week, is I think MLMs. You guys know these things?
Multi-level marketing.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Like, I never really paid attention to the people on Facebook and things like that, but I got a message this week from someone I used to work with who's since moved abroad, has never messaged me before. Like, we wouldn't really have been friends. We were friendly. Just being like, hey, Hanley, how's it going? It's like, good. How are you? Yeah, really good. Any news? All this kind of like really just awkward, like small talk conversation. And sure enough, check the profile, Herbalife, if you've ever heard of it. It's like
Oh,
one
yeah.
of the biggest ones out there.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
just drink this smoothie in the morning and you'll have better hair and better skin and lose 6 pounds a week and all this fucking bullshit. Funnily enough, the person never actually followed up. They just kind of asked me a few awkward questions over the space of 5 or 6 messages and just left it. I wondered, did they lose the nerve or whatever? But I'm guessing it's like all over your pages and stuff as well.
Actually, it's never
Yeah.
happened to me, but I know about it.
It is fucking my Facebook is riddled with it, and it's only 2 or 3 people, but they just post so much and post so much shit, and these fake pictures of like a girl that's like 9 stone and a girl that's 20 stone, and saying, "Look how much weight Katie lost in
Yeah.
just 6 weeks by drinking or eating, taking our pills or something."
Yeah.
It's fucking
And
nuts.
it's a different person in both pictures or something.
Exactly, and how people are still falling for this, because that's what really threw me off. Is like this person who messaged me is, I would have thought, like quite intelligent, like doing fairly well in their career, and they're basically in a fucking pyramid scheme that the whole world knows about.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
how do you fall
Yeah.
for it?
Because I was thinking about this recently too, because I get a ton of adverts for. Have you seen those FX traders guys on Instagram and stuff? You seen those?
No.
No? Okay. I would say Google it, but if you do, it's just going to be in all of your sponsored ads. So maybe don't.
Ooh, I just had it typed in there, so I won't click enter.
No, well, it's probably speaking around your Alexa or whatever. It means that you now will.
Do you
But-
believe that? Just out of interest.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I think so. But yeah, these FX traders, right? They basically trade, like, they're day traders on currency, so they bet that the dollar will increase against the yen or drop or whatever, and they say they get like overnight millionaires because of it, and you can make legitimate money through trading, obviously, because it's a thing. But they basically sell courses on teaching you how but like their Instagram pages are so ludicrously geared towards broke as fuck young men that they'll be head to toe in Gucci. They'll have a massive watch. They'll have an Apple laptop or a Mac, and they'll have like they'll drive a rented car, and they'll be telling you how poor and stupid you are because you're not trading these day trade things. And like so many people fall for it, and you just sign up to this course that doesn't really teach you anything that you could just do yourself, you know. But anyway, it's another Ponzi scheme. It's another fucking pyramid scheme thing.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone is listening, if you're ever told join this group and pay us this much money and you'll make a quick buck, please do not do that. It doesn't make sense. That's all.
So how much Herbalife did you buy?
I bought 3 Herbalife.
There's a good chance
Wow.
the people you see selling the stuff know how stupid it is, but they know other people will fall for it anyway.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
it, because I was looking, like, the person who was messaging me is like in pretty good shape, so I was kind of going, all right, well, I can understand how they might message someone and go, hey, look how in shape I am, and I did all this through Herbalife. You can get in shape too. But then if that unfit person buys it, how the fuck are they meant to sell it? Because that's the whole idea, is that they just keep selling and selling and selling. So does that person then go, okay, I'm 20 stone, but this Herbalife is going to work and you should buy it too? Like, I don't understand how it makes so much money, or makes some people so much money, because there's definitely, because it's targeting people, insecure people who are not going to lose any weight off a pill or a smoothie or whatever. So I don't know. I see a flaw in the system, but look, someone somewhere is making lots of money off it, and I'm not. So maybe I'm the bigger fool.
Yeah, maybe you should have bought those 3 Herbalife and like sold it to me and Flynn. You should have promoted it on this podcast. You know,
But
I have
this
an
is-
interesting topic.
But imagine me being like, lads, I swear to God, it's doing me wonders. You'd be like, doesn't look like it's doing you wonders. so no, thank you.
Yeah, but
Put
there's
yourself
people out
down.
there.
But it's honest, like, fucking, you know.
Yeah, but this is it.
Like, if a bald man came to me trying to sell me a hair product, I'm not going to buy it.
Bald men probably have done the most research into hair.
Yeah, because have you noticed like a lot of barbers are receding or bald? So I don't know if I kind of would believe
Yeah.
a bald
Bit-
guy about hair products.
Beethoven was deaf.
There you go.
He became deaf. He wasn't born deaf, right?
People weren't bald. People became bald, but maybe they were born bald as well.
Yes. See. Wow. My God.
Sunrise, sunset.
All right.
We are bald,
Very
and
good.
to bald we will return.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, one last thing. You know, you lose your hair as you get older. Do you also lose your hair below the belt? Like, do you die with a bald dick?
Go find
No,
like the
I don't
oldest
think
person
so.
you can and just pull down their pants.
Ask first.
I'm trying to think of who the oldest person I know is. I don't know. Jesus.
Doesn't matter. Just go to the post office again and just find your one that was rude to you.
Yeah. Show me your minge. Just ask her. Just say, do you have hair on your minge or not?
What?
Because at least that's something to look forward to. Having a
What?
smooth undercarriage in the future.
Oh,
What did you think I was on about?
so you're one in the post office.
No. When we're out of this lockdown.
I wonder why. I wonder why humans have hair where they have hair, and why we became bare in other places. Like, why do we have eyebrows? What the fuck is the point of eyebrows?
To protect your eyes, like
I would have
eyelashes.
thought. Yeah, I would have thought it's to.
Eyebrows, but sure, they're doing nothing.
Shave them and see. Shave them and go outside and see. Your eyes will be watering from the wind.
Maybe they have a hidden function we haven't figured out yet. They just start
Yeah. I've
been
spinning
trying.
and we take off.
Yeah. So does that mean like these like it's women just constantly fucking around with their eyebrows, aren't they? Like, do you think they're trying to find out the purpose of them?
You know, the current trend is for super thick, drawn-on eyebrows, which is bad. But I prefer to the previous trend of shaved eyebrows and pencil eyebrows.
Yeah. Somewhere
Which
in
I
the
did not
middle,
like.
right? You know?
Yeah, the middle, like normal
Just eyebrow.
eyebrows would be ideal.
Yeah.
You're
I
leaving
do,
them at it.
Yeah.
They're happy.
Yeah, it's like the fake nails and stuff now. You know, I remember it before when it was like, you know, bit of an extension on top to have a longer nail. Now it's like they've got fucking Christmas trees on them and shit. Like, what the fuck is that about?
Sure,
Like,
look.
draw a line in the sand and stop getting Christmas trees
Yeah.
on your nails. Like,
Yeah, sometimes I do feel like women, like, well, women definitely got the short straw, you know, with the periods and having to carry babies and things like that. But they also draw quite a lot of shit on themselves with those nails and the eyebrows, and, you know, like, that's by choice. Like, and they say, well, you know, you gotta do your nails. You don't gotta do your nails. Half the population don't do their nails, and they're just fine. So,
so it
ladies,
balances
maybe you
out.
gotta check yourself. You know, look in the mirror.
That's it. That's it.
That's where the
Check
problem
yourself.
lies.
Is that your message to all women?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe you could cut this bit and do me a favor, but
Yeah, it
No,
might save an argument.
Sonia doesn't listen to the podcast.
All right.
What?
Fucking
So who
bitch.
is?
I know.
Who the fuck is?
I suppose she usually hears it anyway, so
Yeah.
but
No
no,
need
I'm
to
in
hear
the
it again.
office, so
Yeah,
The
that's
office.
fair enough.
yeah, the spare room is now the office. We just
Yeah,
took the bed
every
apart.
house has an office now. You know,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
another thing of
I
COVID.
keep forgetting the word office, and I call it the boardroom.
Go into the boardroom, like fucking big long table. Yeah, 8
Yeah.
chairs.
I mean, you've seen the room, like it's
Yeah.
it couldn't fit a board table, like.
Can I have a bit of a whinge? I've been thinking about this for a while.
No,
Okay.
sorry, no, thank you.
You have 8
Okay,
minutes to make it.
Okay, right. Well, thanks for listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
Fucking like and subscribe or some shit.
Dum, 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 dum. Oh, I
Perfect.
figured out
Done.
I can play that, by the way. I can play it on an instrument. If we're ever done for copyright, I can just play it on a different instrument.
Great.
Very poorly, so.
Brilliant.
All right, let's hear it.
Let's hear it.
Oh, let's hear it.
Well,
then.
me having a whinge or you playing?
No, you have no whinge.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, it's podcasts in general. Like, we've done this for a while now. I know we had like breaks and stuff and, you know, different names or whatever, but we've done this a long time. And we did this, I mean, Jesus, it was probably like 2013, 2012 maybe, when we first ever sat down together and recorded stuff. Back then it was very scarce, and the problem was always getting people to like understand what a podcast was and why you'd sit down, and why would I want to sit down and listen to someone else talking. Whereas now everyone and their mother has a podcast, and it's so saturated that like podcasts aren't even podcasts anymore. They're just videos, but people say that they're podcasts. Sky Sports has about 17 podcasts a day, and it upsets me because it's just dumb. I think it's very stupid now that, you know, I know things evolve and media evolves. Like, you know, radio 50 years ago is different to radio today. But yeah, that's my little whinge. I think podcasts are incorrectly labeled currently.
So, do you think we should stop doing podcasts and do another medium of?
No, I think what we're doing
Porn.
is a podcast.
Yeah.
Yes, we should do wrestling porn, but with hairless old ladies. But no, I think what we do is what a podcast is, right? Chatting.
Up until today, because we've always been a football podcast, and we spoke for maybe 2.5 minutes about football at the very start of this, but never mind. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. But it's, you know, when I see it on like a Facebook 5-minute clip where it's just like, you know, Sky Sports or BBC's podcast, it's like this. It's not. That's a video.
I do get you. The Gary Neville podcast is one that gets me.
Fucking yeah, and then
You
don't
know
get me
that
wrong.
one? Yeah.
It's good. I like listening to it, but it's
Mhm.
not. It's a 20-minute video of Gary Neville giving his thoughts after a football game as a commentator. It's not a podcast.
I do wonder if radio, like I'm thinking like Neil Prendeville and Niall Boylan, whether those are doomed because of podcasts. You know, will they inevitably just go off and become podcasts? Because they are already. You can listen to the Neil Prendeville show whenever you want. It doesn't have to be, 10 till 12 every day or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, when you think about it, a lot of these radio shows are doing exactly that. They're obviously saving and recording them and then putting them on Spotify where they get the exact same thing. I know they don't earn as much, but like the Neil Prendeville show is essentially a radio podcast with adverts during it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a lot has changed. To get all like sentimental about it, like we've done this a long time, lads. A very long time.
Yep.
From
Nothing
the
to show
days
for
of
it.
Techers Weekly, like.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
even going back to like our first Put 'em Under Pressure podcast, like very different times.
Brings a tear to your eye.
I know.
I know. We
The-
just
the
want to get
tattoo
back
was
to
worth it.
in-person podcasts.
Yeah.
One
Yeah,
microphone
yeah.
between the three of us. That's how it should be.
Instead of 3 good audios, we have like 1 mediocre audio.
Yeah.
I listened back to some of the old stuff, and that mic works quite well for the 3 people. I think it actually works better for 3 people than for 1 person.
Hmm.
Whatever it is about it.
It's like a circle one, though, isn't it? It picks things up well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good old Blue. We miss you.
Soon enough, lads. Soon enough.
Yeah. That's what it is, right?
I
Blue
thought
Ice.
you were talking
Isn't it?
about band.
Well, them too. I mean, Jesus, don't get me started on that.
Do you remember the song "So Bizarre"? Do you remember
By
that
Blue?
song?
No.
You'd know it if you heard it.
How bizarre?
Maybe.
Yeah. How bizarre?
You said so bizarre, didn't you?
Oh shit! How bizarre is it?
Yeah.
Okay. No,
I know that.
I was listening to it today.
Yeah, that's a bit
By
of an
Blue.
earworm, all right.
I honestly have no idea why I brought that up.
It's the end of the podcast. It's
How
usually when
bizarre.
we do trail off into nonsense.
It's like I just picked a thought in my head, like the normal thoughts that you'd have, like, oh, I wonder what the weather will be like tomorrow. That was
We
a
do
nice
tend
dinner.
to fucking stumble to the finish line of these podcasts.
Yeah.
We
It's a-
should,
it wa-
we should from now on we should plan like a strong topic to finish on. Like just keep one in the back pocket rather than just saying, I heard so bizarre today.
Yeah, I didn't even get the name right. And it's only 2 words. I was 50% wrong.
I prefer it. I know that we're not the entire audience of people that listens or potential listeners, but I very much enjoy how we finish our podcasts, which is which is really tripping
Yeah.
across the finish line.
Is there anything more pathetic than intentionally being great? Like these people who they come up with something entertaining to say and they plan it out. I'd much rather say something shite that wasn't planned.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I like the off the cuff stuff, and I think, I remember like we always used to do, like I had to do like the kind of intro, or Dave used to do it back in the day. Like nothing enjoyable about that. Let me just say that. Absolutely nothing enjoyable about trying to think of a nice intro for anything. So, yeah.
Just remember, nos melios excremento.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Something-
That's
something
how
about
this
shite.
podcast works. Podcast
Yeah.
works.
Yep. And that's what we're all going to get tattooed the next time that
you
we...
first.
Yeah, sure. I'll go last.
Right. You better wrap it up. We have 1.5 minutes.
Sweet.
Okay.
Cool. Well, yeah. Good one, lads. It was nice to not speak about football for
Yeah.
a while.
Don't even cut any of that. Just fucking post it.
Yeah.
It's no point.
Straight up.
Got a Chevy 69, how bizarre. How bizarre.